What if human beings were never designed to live in limitation? What if humanity has lived disconnected from its original energetic design? There is a reason why so many people feel something inside of them that is awakening now. They feel anxiety, emptiness, a sense of disconnection, emotional fatigue, a constant search. Many people feel that something no longer fits with their old way of living. In this video, we are going to explore how the human system, also called the avatar template, is a geometry of consciousness that can create a real transformation in every human being. This could be the answer to what you're looking for, and we will explore the path, how you can transform, what can change, and we will speak about the restoration of the 12-strand DNA and the 12 chakra system that was the original design for the human being. So what is the game, actually? The game is that you are pure consciousness, pure light, and then you descend into the density, into the physical form, and you go through a process of experiences and transformation, and then you purify yourself and ascend again to the light. For this to happen, the original DNA, which is the 12 strands DNA, which is your highest potential, needs to be deactivated into the actual 2-strand DNA. The original system is a 12-strand DNA that is connected to 12 dimensions, and at the same time it is linked to 12 chakra system and also to the 12 zodiac signs and the 12 bodily systems. As you can see, everything is connected from the micro to the macro. Everything in the universe is matter and no matter, physical and non-physical. In the physical body, we have 7 energetic centers of our chakras. Out of the body, we have 5 other chakras that are in the non-physical, in the auric field. The 12 layers of our DNA are giving information directly to each chakra to generate and regulate energy. They communicate to each other, and at the same time, every chakra is linked to a dimension of consciousness. So the first chakra is connected to the first dimension, which is the physical dimension. And it is connected to the first layer of the DNA, which gives you the biology of who you are, what's the color of your eyes, the color of your skin, the color of your hair, and everything of your biology. Also, the first chakra gives us strength, stability, commitment, security. It produces the energy to make me feel safe in the material world. So it can manifest my goals, my dreams, from a sense of security and safety. This information comes from the first layer of the DNA. When I activate and fully remove the density of one of my chakras, it works at its optimal energy. It automatically impacts on the strands of the DNA that starts to activate. So we store a lot of unprocessed memories from lifetime after lifetime. And the first step for this activation is the unprocessed memories to start releasing it. When this happens, we start to feel the uneasiness. And this is where most of the people shut it back because they don't have a safe process. They feel uncomfortable and they want to go back. So let's begin to understand what is trauma. Anything that is too much for my nervous system to handle. My nervous system, because energy is meant to be in motion, when a situation happened that my nervous system finds it difficult to handle, it traps the energy and it put it out in the unconscious and subconscious memory, because I don't have the tools to process it, I don't have the time, and I store it back in the unconscious and subconscious. And another time, when the higher self deciding that this is the time to process it, it comes back to the surface. Because we don't have the tools and we don't have the understanding that this happened, that I went to a trauma, when now that I am safe and these go back to my memory, I don't know how to process it. Our body and our DNA is designed in a way that all that is unprocessed wants to be processed, wants to be completed. Energy wants to complete itself. So the memory will show up over and over again. The pain will keep showing up over and over again, because we have this coping mechanism, and all that is trapped will come back until we finally release it. So the drama keeps going on site, and the nervous system doesn't want to hold it. Try to think about yourself. Every time you feel uncomfortable and you feel your nervous system start to activate, how do you process this situation? Most of the time you don't want to think about this because it feels painful. You don't want to face it. You look in another direction. You try to run away. What happens next is that what you try to run away from, it comes back to you over and over and over again, because it is asking from you to face it. It is asking from you to accept it, feel the feeling until it is released. The moment that the conscious mind observes the unconscious becomes conscious. This is the moment that you can process it, and this is the moment that you can transmute it and heal it. Let's say I have a lot of fear in my root chakra. I'm activating my first layer, and the first thing to do for me is to feel all the fear, from the unconscious to the conscious. And then I start feeling this fear. The whole point of healing is feeling. If you feel emotionally, it is showing up because it was stuck in your unconscious and it's surfacing into your consciousness. Now that I have released this fear, process it and transmute it, I created space for the light to activate within me, to raise and ascend into the next level. We need to remember that the energy can't be created nor destroy it. It only transmutes. You transmute the fear into a higher vibrational energy. And now I have more space to activate my pure potential that lies in my DNA. Now let's say I want to activate my life lessons. I want to activate my observation. It will go directly to the layer where my life lessons are held, that right now are blocked. I set the intention I want to do that, and now my awareness go automatically to see the life lessons that are blocked, and they will start activating in my chakra. And then this is the next process that I'm going to start to experience in my life. And this will activate the next layer of the field. Well, to activate all this chakra system and activate this blueprint, the avatar blueprint that is so needed for you to be able to transition into the fifth dimension that we are speaking of, the new earth, the golden age, you need to go into certain recalibrations in your system. The geometry needs to change, the activation in a way that is safe, in a way that it is organized, that you move into the next layer when everything has been removed. We have this program that helps you to prepare to raise into the higher dimensions, to hold more light without disruption and with integrity and safety. So all the information about this program is in the description below, and it is extremely important to prepare your body to receive what's coming next and for the next level of our existence. So let's start to understand the 12 layers of the field and what they bring into our lives. So the restoration of the original template, it doesn't arrive all at once. The 12-strand DNA activate gradually as you process all the stuff that isn't processed within you. And this 12th strand is a portal to quantum reality. This is the path to move from the 3D and live like a multi-dimensional being. So the 12 strands split into 4 groups, and each group has 3 strands. The first group is called the grounding layers, that carries the first, second, and 3 strands. The first strand is the biological strand. It takes all the information from the multi-dimensional layers, all the other ones, and apply it into the genetic structure. The color of your eyes, the color of your hair, your complexion, all your biology. The second strand is your life lessons. And it carries all the information, why you are here, what did you choose to accomplish, and it is linked to the 8th strand, which carries the full Akashic records of your soul. The life lessons is not about karma. The life lessons are the things that you need to develop for your mission. And it's tempered by your environment. And if your environment compresses you, it gets deactivated. So maybe you came here to become a singer or an artist. And maybe you came here with some of this activated within you, but because of the environment that you are in, you shut down this experience or your gifts or your mission, and it gets deactivated. Then the life lessons start to unfold until you go in your gifts. You develop your gifts. Suddenly you have a deep passion for something that wants to be activated within you, and you start learning and learning and learning because this is your path. The third strand is ascension and activation. This means that to ascend my energy into higher levels of consciousness. How do you do it? Well, there's a process. This process goes with mantra practice, meditation, breath work, energy healing, and other tools. When you practice that, you start activating your DNA, you start multiplying your DNA, and this is helping you to raise your vibration and help you to activate the other layers. It is what changes other strands, and the alchemy of the body spiritually starts to awaken. How do you know that you start activating this layer? Because you start activating intuition and emotional clarity. And also, this is when you start moving from the rational analysis into inner knowing. There's an increase of the ability to sense the emotional truth of a situation before the logical mind can understand. And also, you know that this trend is activating because there's a difficulty in tolerating dishonesty that previously it was normal for you. The second group of strands is called the divine human layer, and it carries the 4th, 5th, and 6th. So all of existence carries the essence of the divinity within us, yet it is not seen. The divine human layer is the layer that activates the human instinct and the divine instinct within us. So the 4th and the 5th are the strands that are called the angelic essence within you. This is when you start activating the divinity that is within you. The 5th and the 6th carries the capacity for empathy at a deeper level, and also start activating the multidimensional side, the capacity to see from the third eye, not from the physical eyes. You start seeing geometry, colors, figures, something that is beyond the physical eyes. And it is also the ability to sense what is happening when another person comes to you beneath the mask. Also, the 6th strand of the DNA is connected to your higher self. This is the portal to access your I am presence that allows you to connect to the other side of the veil. You start becoming multidimensional by nature. This opens up the level in which you start activating the state of pure bliss. You have transcended all your traumas. And when you finish all your traumas, you don't have to rebirth again as a human. So you have access to the dimensions above the 7th that previously were not access to you. The next layer, the next group of the strands are called the Lemurian layers, the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And they are connected to the healing capacities, the healing powers. When you start activating these layers, there's no disease in your body. Disease is when the energy is trapped, when it is unprocessed. Automatically, your healing starts to happening when these layers start to activate. And your DNA starts multiplying into its own potential, because your DNA has a direct impact in your red blood cells and on the chemistry of your body. That's why you start shifting into the perfection of your divinity. Also, it activates the spiritual immune system, and also the capacity to discern between the frequencies that are authentic and the ones that are manipulative. And you have this inner guidance to discern between what is right, what is truth, and what is not. The 8th layer carries the Akashic records from your soul. This is when you find all the information from all your lifetimes, and you can find here all that you need to restore your life, to restore your gifts, and also to go into the root of any trauma. Let's say you have an issue that keeps coming in your life over and over again that needs to be resolved. When you access that layer, you can go to the root cause and transmute it. And also, what's the other part? When you want to activate part of you that already you achieved in other lifetime. Let's say that you had a lifetime where your body was completely healthy. You can go to the memories of the Akashic records and bring your complete health into this lifetime, or a gift that you already developed to bring it into this lifetime. This is incredible. The 9th strand carries the capacity for healing. This is when you change your structure at a cellular level to a quantic level. When you meditate and you go out of the body, you can move to the 9th dimension and beyond. Yet, what is important is that you need to come back and ground yourself, because the side effect is that when you connect to that dimension, because it's so high, it's so pure, and you feel so good, you detach from the human world and the material world, and you don't want to connect to anything material. So this means that it's important that you rise into the different dimensions when you have transmuted all the density, and it goes layer by layer. Just like imagine yourself like becoming a building with 12 floors. And you can, through the elevator, you can go to the floor that you want on demand. Well, the most important thing is that if you want to keep ascending into the different floors, first you need to purify all the density, because when you go to the highest floor, you don't want to go back. And because we are here as humans, we need to embrace humanity. We need to embrace the physical form, and we need to accept it. And this requires that we need to do the inner work. It cannot be bypassed, because sometimes it has happened. There are people without doing their chakra work at a very young age, they activate the higher chakras. This is called spiritual bypassing. The sixth dimension, which is the third eye, activates. Then, because the dark matter is not clean, when you go into the meditations, they come a moment that they are pulled down by gravity, and then they go into extreme polarization of emotions, because they are extremely spiritual, and the extreme polarized is extremely angry. And they have extreme faith. They come back to the world and they have extreme fear of survival. They don't want money, but they are part of the human expression, and they crave for money. So the best way and the safest way is to move into every floor when you have cleansed every chakra. Let's say you have accumulated a lot of karma, and then you go to a retreat and they activate your third eye. So the energy starts moving to the sixth strand of the DNA. And then the karma of the lower dimensions pulls you back. And then the pendulation of the positive go to the opposite, into the negative. So first, cleanse, do the inner work, and look for the master that can help you to do this inner work. Go into the density, all that you don't want to do. This is the first thing you need to do. You need to cleanse, you need to purify, you need to go into the depths of your being. And when it is done, this is when you rise up into the highs, never the opposite side or the opposite way. The fourth group of strengths, this is the divine strength of source. So here we have the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th. And this is when we can have the capacity to connect with other civilizations without being overwhelmed. And this is when we have a recognition that home is beyond the human expression. The 10th strength, when it is activated, it begins the search for God from the human being. It is linked to the free will. So it can do anything unless the human is asking for it. This is where the supernatural abilities begin to activate in this 10th dimension. The 11th strength is linked to the divine feminine wisdom. It carries the compassion of the Great Mother. It needs to be asked for the human again. The last strength, the 12th strength, is the Almighty I Am Presence, God, Source Consciousness, that brings the life force from the divine into the human vessel. This is when you are the divine fully embodied. I already said that in another video, but I want to keep repeating this because it is very important. The first group carries the first, second, and third strands. When we sum them, equals 6. Second group carries the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. When we sum them, equals 15. 5 plus 1, 6. The third group carries the seventh, eighth, and ninth, equals 24. 2 plus 4, 6. Here we have the 666 number that we were told this is the evil number. Actually, 6 was the strength of your I am presence. 666 is the power of your own divinity. Your I am in your DNA. The last group, which carries the 10th, 11, and 12, carries the 33. 33 is the master number. Is the energy of the Christ consciousness embodied into the physical expression. And 33, 3 plus 3 equals 6, again, your I am presence. So this is important to know, because you start activating something within it that was shared from a place that wasn't truth. The human body in its highest form, it only embodies 44% of the light of the entire DNA. The rest is esoteric. Then you start to move into higher and higher dimensions. The moment that you attain 100% of the DNA, you just disappear into the everything, everywhere, and you become the all, because you merge to the divine. This is not that you dissolve your identity. You become all identities, which is different. You do not lose yourself. You gain the entire existence. So you are more than one. You are the all. And this goes with the ego dissolution. What happens here? Let's give an example. We take the DNA of an apple. The apple only knows how to be an apple. If I look at the apple and I say, be happy, the apple doesn't know how to be happy or how to be sad. It is not multidimensional. The human DNA is the most evolved and spiritualized, divinely encoded DNA. In a DNA of multidimensional possibilities, why will I shrink and only be the identity of the I, self? So the first thing, when you start activating your DNA, all of the false perceptions about who you really are start to dilute them. They start falling apart because we are tapping into something bigger. And as you tap into something bigger, there's freedom there. The process is very painful when the ego is dissolving, because the brain is designed for self-preservation. And one of the self-preservation brain is to preserve the identity of the master that you believe is true for you. For example, if I know I have the divine in me, but I grew up in an environment that they made me feel that I am not good enough, and I start believe that I am not good enough, now my brain will want to preserve the identity that I'm not good enough. And then I need to hide that because I don't feel good with it. And I create a copy mechanism, which is a mask, which is the ego, that pretends that I am superior and good enough. And this is the mask. So now it is very important for us to do the work on the limitations of the brain. My brain will do anything to preserve my identity that I believe that is true for me. If I believe I am fat, the brain will only give me the chemicals to keep me fat. My beliefs create my reality. My brain's job is not to analyze if this food is healthy or not healthy. What happens is that I eat something and my brain gives the information that I need to keep fat because this is my identity. No matter what I eat, I will keep fat. So my soul is carrying the divinity within me. The brain is becoming a barrier. It's a fight between the soul and the brain. And that's exactly when they say the first step for us is to reach our soul. This means that we need to reprogram the memories of our subconscious mind. And the brain needs to first calm down. This is when you will touch the soul, and then the ego doesn't have to crack into the pain. It just comes out, the mask, beautifully. And you start unfolding easily. So you have what is called the false identity, and you have something called the true identity. True identity is your higher self, which is the divinity within you. The false identity is the one that I picked up from my environment, that I'm not good enough, that created my ego. Now I don't want the world to see that I'm not good enough. I need another mask of a superior complex to hide that I'm not good enough, and this is what becomes my ego. Because I believe I'm not good enough, I will treat you as not good enough. So I create a separation between you and me. I don't see us as one. The brain goes into self-preservation mode because there's an attach on identity. The moment there's an attach for identity, it instantly goes into survival. So we first have to reprogram our memory and deprogram our brain. When we go into meditation and we reach the gamma state of consciousness, the gamma frequency, we become nothing. And this is an experience of total freedom. Once you taste that, it becomes an anchor for the brain, and it has a new identity. It wants to go back because it feels the state of bliss. Now, the lower states of the brain are the lower frequencies of alpha and beta. And this is when we act in our daily life. We are something. I'm someone. I live in a state of survival. I live in a state of constant doing. And suppose that we are doing our trauma healing, and we start meditating, and we start doing breath work, and we start doing mantra, and we start using all the tools, and we start raising our vibration and creating a state of consciousness, and we reach higher dimensions. It comes to a point where we have the capacity to lose our identity. This is when there's no time, there's no space, there's nothingness, but everything. This is when the brain has tasted the state of bliss. And when it comes down to the lower identity, it doesn't like it anymore. The brain loves something better. It makes the new identity, and it allows me to go back into the ego again. The identity have shifted from somebody to nobody, which means everything. And now, because I'm nobody and I am everybody, I can be whoever I want to any time according to the situation. I can be happy, I can be joy, I can be no space and no time, and I can shift identities moment to moment. So it's about not having a fixed identity or the survival identity. It can be a state of bliss. I can be a mother when I'm with my child, and I can be a wife. I can have a different identity in every moment. I can be the boss in my business. I can be the healer. I can be the artist. So then you go back to the blissful state in which you are everything. So you have to be that vessel at the moment, the container, and then you jump again into somebody, and then nobody, and then somebody, and there is not one fixed thing. So what kind of abilities and gifts you can unlock with a 12-strand DNA? In the lower strands or the lower dimensions, you are stuck in the biological layer. Then manifestation, it is only possible through material things. So you have to struggle a lot to make things happen. And here is when people focus only on action, 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 because only with action you can get results. This is the evidence that we are stuck in a very lower dimensional of consciousness. Thoughts become things when you reach the state of the 5th level of the field, 5th dimension of 5th strand DNA, and the 6th dimension. So from the 6th dimension and the 5th dimension beyond, first thoughts can become materialized. When you raise your vibration into the 7th dimension, your desires become material things. So you start feeling, I wish that, and this suddenly manifests. From the 10th dimension, I manifest out of thin air. As we are in the physical body, we can only tap into the 6th and 7th strand of the DNA. Then the journey goes by keep evolving. This is when you ascend into the ascended master. And then you help people to walk the path. So how can you reprogram your DNA from 2 strand to 12 strand? The DNA is the light quotient within us. We all are made particles of light. The sun is a source of light. When we are born into a new body, into a new lifetime, our DNA is completely activated. The child is projecting the inner light. Imagine the child, how pure it is, how beautiful, how shiny a child can be. But then we are conditioned for the first initial years of age, and the light gets dimmed. Now the sun is the best source of reactivating it, because it's bringing more light and it takes away the darkness. So what is the activation? The darkness comes into light. Let's say I was born with a 44% of my DNA, and then from the compression and all that is happening, my light dims into 18%. I want to activate again my light. I can use the sun as a source. Meditation, awareness, breathing, prana. When you are breathing, you are inhaling the light. You are transmuting the density. All of the pranayamas, which is all of the breath work, are good because every single pranayama is contributing to take out the darkness from the nadis. And we have 72,000 nadis in our left side and 72,000 nadis in our right side. So if I do this breathing, I can cleanse, I can bring the light within. So breath work is one of the safe and best ways to cleanse and activate my DNA. Mantra chanting, sound, vibration, healing work, all this helps to activate my DNA. The most authentic form of sound for our DNA to activate is the Om sound. The Om, which is the original sound. So our DNA is the motherboard information waiting for instructions. If I'm eating food, with the instruction that I'll become fat, suddenly the information goes into my master that wants to become fat with the food. So the message goes into my brain, and suddenly it makes sure that all those chemicals produced will create a change in my food to become fat in my body. So before you eat something, remember to bless it, to thank, because you are sending light and you shift the instructions and you bring in the pure minerals, nutrition, and you don't have to give another instruction. So be aware to not imprint all the food with other information, just like the news or negative information, because it is also encoded in the food. So the first receiver in my DNA, you are embedding it in the DNA, and that part of you will imprint in your soul the next journey. That's why we get trapped into the cycle of karma. Our six senses receive and perceive information from the outer world. And our DNA receives the information from the six senses. It is impacted for everything I see, everything I hear, everything I taste, everything I feel, and everything I touch. It is our source of information that gives information to our DNA, which is also my unconscious and subconscious mind. For example, you have a disease in your body, and now your body is self-healing, self-replicating, waiting for instructions. If I have pain in my knee and I'm saying I have pain, what instructions am I giving to my body, to my DNA? It picks the information saying pain, and it will keep reproducing the pain chemical. The pain gets increased, and I become more matter and less energy. On the other side, if I have pain, but I start blessing the pain, I start loving the pain, I start blessing my knee, I start feeling the gratitude for it. What I do is placing new instructions so that my body can heal. Because my brain does not know the difference between what is real and what is unreal. It only follows what I believe. And this is what gets recreated. Most of humanity are stuck in the first layer, which is the third strands. The biological layer, for them, everything is just biology and not looking beyond anything. So let's do an example, an exercise. I invite you to close your eyes. And now you visualize that you are holding a lemon in your hands. And then you visualize that you are cutting the lemon. And you take a piece of this lemon and you put in your mouth. And now you squeeze the lemon. Suddenly, your brain has produced a chemical that you have eaten the lemon. Because your brain cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. It immediately produces the chemical to digest the lemon. And your DNA has the instructions of the lemon that is called placebo. And this is a nocebo effect as well. So if I can eat a sugar pill with a complete belief that this is going to cure me, it is going to cure me. That's how instructions are communicating with your DNA. The message that I'm giving myself, every thought that I'm thinking, every feeling I'm feeling, everything that I'm seeing, I'm believing is impacting my DNA. If there's a negative information that is coming in, it contracts my DNA and we become more matter and less energy. And you are becoming more solid. The more positive, loving, compassionate, emotions that we can expand ourselves, we expand our DNA, it self-replicates, it impacts in the quality of the red blood cells, in the digestion, in the immunity system, in everything about our biology and the chemistry and the physics and vibrations and everything. When you feel angry, how do you feel? Do you contract or do you expand? And I'm sure that you contract. Yet, when you're happy, do you contract or you expand? And you expand, right? So, if I'm consuming a lot of dense energy, I become more dense. Then I struggle even when I meditate because I temporarily go out in the higher frequencies, but then when I come out of the meditation, I go into the dense energy once again. So if your reality want to go high, first clean the density. Even if you fall back, you will not come back as dense. It will be smoother. So there is not a point in quantum jumping if you have not cleared your karma, your density, your trauma. Everything starts with self-healing. So, there were two experiments that happened. The first experiment, they wanted to know the connection between the DNA and the world around us in the quantum field. The DNA is the stuff that we are made up, which is light. Photons is the stuff that the universe is made up. And photons are particles of light. So in this experiment, they took an empty glass container and they realized that it was an empty space because the empty space was filled with particles of light, of photons in this empty container. Even if the vacuum was removed, they injected the human DNA into the container. The particles that at the beginning were moving randomly, suddenly they started to take the geometry of the DNA. This means the human DNA is impacting in the photons around us, which means the quantum field around us. What we believe and what we think is impacting the quantum field, and this is the response that we receive. They took the DNA in a second exercise, in a second experiment, and they took the DNA of a newborn baby. Like we said before, the DNA of a newborn baby is very pure, very, very pristine, which means that it's expanded. They put it in the glass container. They consciously took this glass container in an energy field and in a heart chakra of a person that had negative emotions, anger, frustration, jealousy. What happened is that this expanded DNA started to contract. Then they put this same crystal container to another person that was trained with feelings of love, compassion, kindness. The same DNA that was contracted started to expand and self-replicate. This means that the human emotions affect and impact the DNA. If human emotions impact the DNA and DNA impacts the quantum field, this means that emotions impacts the quantum field, which means impacts matter. So every time I'm emotional, I'm influencing my surroundings and shaping my reality. So when I have negative thoughts, my DNA is contracting and more matter, and I create more matter in my life. When I am in a positive emotion, I'm expanding. Then I can manifest new possibilities of whatever I am observing and intending. So the human DNA has a direct relationship between manifestation. What does kundalini falls into all this picture? Your kundalini is coiled around the lower chakra, the first chakra actually. The earth chakra is carrying the blueprint of your life. This lifetime, and also all your karmic memories of the Akashic records. So everything that is dense goes into the first chakra. All of the unfinished process, unfinished stories is coiled in the kundalini. This is the Shakti energy of the electrons. The electrons carry the negative charge in our body. We are electromagnetic beings. The magnetic energy is the Shakti energy, is the feminine essence that is coiled at the base of the spine. The magnetic charge is the electrons of the negative charge that want to just connect with the opposite side, which is the protons. Because the proton is the opposite side, is the higher consciousness, the higher chakras. The masculine, which is strong and unmoving. If you look at an atom, there's the electron, the proton, and the nucleus. And within the nucleus, there's the God's molecule. In an atom, what is moving is the electron. The proton is constant. It is the Shiva. It is the crown chakra. It is constant. It is the masculine. So the electron, which is Mother Earth, and the dense energy and the negative charge particle start to move up through the kundalini, raising up, up, up. It wants to merge with the proton and become one. This is the kundalini awakening, where the energy is raising from the lowest dimension into the more spiritual. And for this to happen, we need to, this creates a dance moving upwards, moving through all the chakras. And the moment that this density, this kundalini meets the divine energy, there's a divine union of the feminine and the masculine, from duality into union. And that's the whole essence of the kundalini awakening, the merging of the duality into unity. The merging of the human and the divine, the merging of the masculine and the feminine. To move up the kundalini, you have to remove all the density. When the density is removed, this is when we meet Shiva. This is when you are in a high state of consciousness and automatically you start activating the DNA. Activating the kundalini or the DNA, everything starts with all your unprocessed negative karmic memories that shows up. The pitfall here is if you don't have awareness of the process. As the energy starts showing up, rather than processing, your brain can end up projecting in your environment, and it ends up creating a lot of negative energy and negative experience in your relationships, in your health, in your money, because nobody ever trained you how to handle this situation. So it's important to recognize that we are touching this deactivated part of us. We need to first go deep within, be with the uncomfortable, process the uncomfortable, and as we make space, we start reaching up to the light. So if it's forced to open, because we have 72,000 nadis in each side of the body, it can go all this energy to the nadis and suddenly connect with densities, and it will be worse. You might go into depression or into darkness, into the most instinct animal within you, because you didn't go first into the process that you needed to do. So the memories go into surface, and the brain cannot tell the difference between the past, the future, the present. Your brain, you are doing it now, it goes into preservation mode, and it may end up going into divorce, breaking relationships, into drugs, into depression, because it's so scary that the body then doesn't want to face it. They just disconnect all the energy all of your physical body, and it goes into higher dimensions, which can lead into schizophrenia. So now, because of the light that is coming in, is activating the third eye in many, many, many people. If we don't do the first inner work, which is going into the trauma and releasing and healing the trauma, this may happen to many people. Nobody can activate the kundalini for you. It's a very self-evolved process. However, if you go to a retreat and you have a mentor, it is important that they can help you to clean your karma. Once it is clean, there's an automatic process of the kundalini activation so that it can move upwards into the spine and meet pure consciousness. And the DNA is waiting to be activated, waiting for a new instruction, coming where my cells can respond to new instructions. My biology can respond to new instructions with a higher level of consciousness. Well, there's a lot of information here. Maybe you will need to go over this information several times, and every time you go over the information, you will get most of all that is here, because there's a lot and it can help you very much. Until the next time, all my love. Namaste.